This video captures a day trip my wife and I took to Joshua Tree National Park on a Saturday in the end of February 2024. During that day, we did a total of 5 hikes and ended at Keys View for the sunset. Joshua Tree became a national park largely through the efforts of Minerva Hoyt, who was a desert conservationist and someone who came to grow to love the desert and desire more than anything else to see it protected from automobile traffic and just random acts of destruction that would occur out there. So we're here at Barker Dam, about to head off on this trail. You can see there's still some parking here. We came into the park about 9:30 and we were told to come here immediately because the parking lot would fill up. So put that in the back of your mind if you come to Barker Dam. Minerva Hoyt spent most of her life trying to bring awareness of the desert beauty that she saw. In 1928, she brought 7 freight cars of rocks and plants and sand and flowers to the Garden Club of America in New York, and it made a huge impression. In 1930, she started the International Desert Conservation League. In 1933, she was influential in Death Valley becoming a national monument, and in 1936, influential in Joshua Tree becoming a national monument through her work with President Franklin Roosevelt when he established 800,000 acres designated for the national monument. This is such a beautiful trail, easy going, really nice. Ultimately, Joshua Tree was designated a national park in 1994. So right here in the picture is the actual dam. And if you go online, you can find photographs of what it looks like when there is water that's back behind it. Apparently Bill Keys of Bill Keys Ranch, another video you can see that I've done, raised the level of the dam. And here you can see his family members where they signed off on the work that they had done. The water was being dammed up as they were attempting to do cattle ranching, so perhaps this was a place where the cattle could get some water. One final comment on Minerva Hoyt. The National Park Service brochure talks about how national parks are established and mostly come about through dedicated park boosters. And you'll hear names like Ferdinand Hayden for Yellowstone or John Muir for Yosemite, or even someone like Marjorie Stoneman Douglas relative to Everglades. But in thinking about those names, Minerva Hoyt needs to be listed as well relative to desert national parks. What a day for a brilliant contrast. Look at the snow-capped mountains back there against the desert. Well, look at this. If you're lucky and you're here at the right time of year, you may be able to do a national park trail where the whole time it smells like cheese, because you are surrounded by cheese bush. How about that for a unique thing? Depending how you're going, as you're exiting, there's this sign for petroglyphs. And if you look just right up ahead there, you can just pull off the trail for a second or take a different trail for a second and go see some petroglyphs. Let's see what they look like. Man, how cool is that? Look at those. When you read about these petroglyphs, it's so sad because apparently back in the 60s, some film company painted over some with red and black so they'd show up better. Well, that Barker Dam hike is absolutely gorgeous. It's accessible. You get to see petroglyphs and a dam and just a beautiful desert landscape. I think this might be on my top 10 national park hikes list, at least short hikes. So I'd encourage you to come on out. Next hike is the Hidden Valley Trail. If you look, it's about a mile-long loop. Looks very accessible. If you check on my other video about Bill Keys, you can see that apparently he must have had something to do with opening up this area. This trail, once again, is a mile-long loop once you get to this point. And you just follow the loop around. As you're out here on these trails and in this park, it's not unusual to see folks like that person up there doing a little rock climbing, rappelling. So wow, look at this. You come around this corner and then, my goodness, look what opens before you. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see some hikers as the trail moves on up ahead. So you can see that mostly this is a smooth, beautifully maintained trail. A few places of climbing up and down a bit, but nothing too difficult. So once you come down through that rocky area, you end up in this incredibly gorgeous valley. It's just surrounded by rocks on every side. Just amazing vistas of the desert. Apparently this is a favorite spot for rock climbers. It's called the Great Burrito. I'm pretty sure this Joshua tree is smiling at me. Let me know if you see it in the comments. And now here we are back at the start of the loop. We went that way on the loop, but I guess you can go either way. All right, so what did you think of the Hidden Valley Trail?
It was great. Really rocky, fun to see rock climbers doing their thing. Very different formations than the other trails we've done. So if you're in Joshua Tree National Park, you should do it.
Oh, I see. Maybe not.
What do you think? I don't know. Looks like a skull to me. So the trailhead here is right by the side of the road, just past Twin Tanks parking, and it heads off this way. So you can see by the ease of this is probably a reason why it's such a popular trail. This is an easy trail to follow, but it's even easier when you have a young woman in front of you leaving a mark so you know how to follow. So here you can go either way, to the right, to the left. We'll try the right. So as you come around this corner, you get the first view of that little arch up there. So when you emerge from part of the arch trail, you come on out and back that's called the Hard Rock Trail. So we'll try that one next.
Best shot of the Hard.
Before coming out here, I was given a quote pro tip that the best pictures are taken from the back side of the heart. So tell me what you prefer. Here's the backside shot of Heart Rock. And then here's the front side shot of Heart Rock. You know, at the moment, I'm feeling the front myself. Tell me what you think in the comments. So the Heart Rock and Arch Rock trails were not difficult at all. The one thing you should be aware of, though, is if you do the Arch Rock, you can see the arch, but you can't get up close without a scramble. And so that might restrict some people from being able to do it. I went with my wife, Kathy, and she wasn't able to scramble to get in there. So just something to keep in mind if you're going to do both. The Heart Rock the trail, no problem at all getting out there. Our last stop of the day was to head up to Keys View, which is arguably the best vista point within the national park. As we go along here, I absolutely love watching the silhouettes of these Joshua trees against the sky. So you come to the parking lot, and then there's this bit of a trail that goes up to the summit of Keys View. We'll hike up there and see what it looks like. You can actually see the Salton Sea from up here. That's wild. Once again, that body of water there is called the Salton Sea, and in the center of the screen, way out in the distance there, is a mountain that is right on the border with Mexico, I guess. That's Palm Springs right down there. Many of you know me and the way I like to take time-lapse videos. Here's a time-lapse of the sunset. And it was actually funny, a couple was walking by and they said, "Are you Pops?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And they said, "We thought so because you were doing a time-lapse and you kind of looked like Pops." So that was pretty funny. So thank you so much for spending the day with us at Joshua Tree National Park. Gorgeous day, beautiful sunset to end today. Thank you for your watching, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Here's a little something extra for you. As we were planning on spending the day in Joshua Tree, we thought, we'll spend the night instead of driving all the way back home. And we landed in this place called the Joshua Tree Inn. And as you'll see, what an interesting place it turned out to be. All right, so here we are at the Joshua Tree Inn, a cool spot. One of the things that's really cool about it is its focus on remembering Gram Parsons. Lots of memorabilia here, and this one room is particularly epic, where you go back in here and it has all of this stuff that's memorabilia from his time as a musician. So particularly, this is a great spot just as a hotel, and it's so close to the entrance of the park. It's worth coming just for that. But if you're like many people who have this interest in Gram Parsons, it would be a really cool spot to check out. Parsons had a brief stint with the Byrds, was known to the Rolling Stones, and sang with Emmylou Harris. His combination of country music and rock was ahead of its time, and he struggled to find a popular audience. But the 2005 Rolling Stone magazine rated him as the number 87 most influential musician at that particular time. So the story goes that Phil Kaufman, who was the Flying Burrito Brothers concert manager and later produced an album for the infamous Charles Manson, was with Parsons at a funeral. And as the body was being lowered into the ground, Parsons says he didn't want to go that way. But what he wanted was that his body would be cremated and the ashes spread at Cap Rock in Joshua Tree National Park. Well, once Parsons passed away, his body was in Los Angeles, headed for Louisiana to be buried there. Well, Kaufman and his assistant Martin, in a crazy story, stole the body and took it out to Joshua Tree National Park. There, in a drunken state, they poured gasoline in the coffin and set it on fire near Cap Rock. Now, ultimately, it burned down. The body wasn't completely burned. The guys were arrested, but the remains of Parsons' body were then put on the airplane and sent back to Louisiana, where he's buried in a place called Garden of Memories Cemetery in Metairie, Louisiana. Apparently, this story was made into a kind of dark comedy that was called Grand Theft Parsons. It's very low rated on Rotten Tomatoes, and I have to admit I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you how accurate or if it's worth your time. This is the memorial that now stands outside of room 8 where Parsons passed away. The word "safe at home" is in reference to the first album that he was a part of, which was put out by the International Submarine Band in 1967. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.